Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media, St. Louis's home for arts, education, and culture.
I'm learning stuff that I feel like I already can use in my real life.
It is about being your best self and presenting yourself in a way that sets you up for success.
There's real work and sacrifice behind what mothers are doing.
Today on Spotlight, students get hands-on, real-world experience in global business and entrepreneurship. Plus, the St. Louis space community hopes for synergy with the United States Space Force. And then meet the 2022 Missouri Teacher of the Year from the Ferguson-Florissant School District. But first, 3 women who raised and shaped some of America's most pivotal heroes. It's Sunday, and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and James Baldwin are widely recognized as some of the most influential heroes of America's civil rights movement, but little is known about the women who raised them. Historian Anna Malaika Tubbs' new book, The Three Mothers, shines a spotlight on the lives of Alberta King, Louise Little, and Bertus Baldwin, sharing both the hardships they faced as Black women, as well as the influence they had in shaping their son's dedication to social justice. The Three Mothers is a long overdue work of civil rights scholarship and a celebration of Black motherhood. An author, advocate, and educator, Anna Malaika Tubbs holds a PhD in sociology from the University of Cambridge and was a Bill and Melinda Gates Scholar. The Three Mothers was a New York Times bestseller and topped NPR's Books We Love 2021 list. Anna Malaika Tubbs is joined in conversation by Dr. Gerald Early, renowned literary scholar and the Merle Kling Professor of Modern Letters in the African and African American Studies Department at Washington University.
My understanding is that this book came from a doctoral dissertation.
When I started my PhD at the University of Cambridge, I was really inspired by a few different things that were happening outside of academia. Number one was Hidden Figures, this incredible book by Margot Lee Shetterly that went on to become this blockbuster. And I was inspired that she had uncovered this history that we should have known all along, but I was also infuriated that this was the first time I was hearing these women's names. And so I felt this kind of charge to be someone who found other hidden figures. I was also really inspired by I Am Not Your Negro, which was this film based on Baldwin's writings, and the fact that it brought Baldwin in conversation with Malcolm and with Martin, as well as with Medgar Evers. And so I wanted to do something that kind of stemmed from these two inspirations. And I thought about attacking erasure and the many different layers of erasure that I could attack with one project. So number one was the erasure of Black women. I also then thought of roles in our society that I think are overlooked and are not given the credit that they deserve. And motherhood came to mind immediately. And then I thought about the civil rights movement, because we so often come back to it in our conversations and policy and what we're doing in the world, but we talk about it from such a male perspective. And so I said, we're going to do something around the civil rights movement, something with motherhood. A lot of people would say, of course, my mom is, the most important person who led all of these things for me and inspired me and always was there for me, etc. But what I'm saying is we need to vocalize that more. And we also need to pair that admiration with action for mothers, that we no longer see them as these selfless beings who don't have needs of their own, but instead where we say, okay, if we believe that mothers are our leaders, if we believe that my mom inspired me to do all of these things, then we all should be able to say, okay, our country needs to support this role. And we need to think about parental leave, not as some kind of privilege, but a right. We need to respect this role. We need to speak about it with this kind of honor, and think, more and more about all these people who are dedicating their works to their mothers. That's not just a coincidence. There's real work and sacrifice behind what mothers are doing. And it's just time that we change the narrative around that.
To find out which family members she talked to when researching the book and what they thought about the finished product, watch the full interview at hecmedia.org.
HEC Media. Recognized, celebrated, honored time and again for excellence in the industry. Find all of the award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
A catalyst is described as an agent that provokes or speeds significant change or action, which is exactly what's happening here. This is the Catalyst STL.
We believe this is a really good launching pad, a catalyst, so to speak, for something that can ignite their passion and interest in a particular area they want to pursue.
Today's guest speakers have careers in real estate, and they're talking about what their jobs are really like.
There is a difference between what you learn in real estate school versus like real life real estate.
Anyone can Google what is it like to be a dentist, what is it like to be whatever career choice, but to actually sit down with that professional and be able to ask them questions that are a little more intimate, it really gives them an insight into what's the daily going to be like, what did it take to get here.
This is all part of the Catalyst program, a collaboration between 4 high schools as part of the CAPS network, or Center for Advanced Professional Studies.
And we bring in people in industry to teach them about dressing for success, email correspondence, basically things you need to be a professional adult. They set up LinkedIn accounts and they have a real good digital online presence.
The Catalyst program is a unique class offered daily to juniors and seniors to give them hands-on, real-world experience.
So if they want to work 3 different internships throughout the course of the school year, that's fantastic. If they want to launch their own business, that's even cooler.
I started C10 Apparel with my friend. It's a school store for Clayton High School, which is where I go because we didn't have really a school store there. We had sweatshirts, shirts, shorts, like polos.
I also did start my own business, which is a car detailing business called Blaze Mobile Detailing. Not everyone has the time to take their car to like an automatic car wash. So basically I come to you and I detail your car out.
It's called Rookies Newtown, and it's for the restaurant Rookies. It's in Newtown, St. Charles. And so we just built them a website. We put pictures up there of their food, and it's like a sports bar, so we tried to like stick with that theme. It was really fun. It took a lot of work, but it felt really rewarding in the end.
Student entrepreneurs get a chance to earn an angel grant or startup money.
So I did pitch to this guy who owns like a detailing company as well, actually, and he gave me like $1,000 to buy everything I needed to start the business, and that's really what the best part about this class is you have the opportunity to literally be given money to start your own business.
You kind of just get to see what the real world is like in the work field, and it's kind of cool because you get to see like the behind the scenes of their businesses and like what they really do in depth.
It's not just like a science class, not just a math class, and so I'm learning stuff that I feel like I already can use in my real life, like not just like maybe in my future. It's like I already am using it.
Like all high school classes, these students do get a grade, but it's not based on whether their business succeeds or fails.
It doesn't matter if it's successful. What matters is the process. And so I'm not going to penalize a student because their business maybe wasn't the best idea in the world, because at least they tried and they went through the process and they learned a lot of things that you shouldn't do next time.
Failing forward and empowering students. This class hopes to be a catalyst to helping them discover their passions.
With this class, you can really have a chance to like figure out maybe what you want to do as your career.
It's really fun. I love this class. You can do like so many different things, and it's just really interesting, and I think it's really helpful.
Who knows what path they're going to take, but understanding that there are a lot of different paths to look into. And don't close any doors because, well, you never know what life's going to bring.
Scan the QR code on your screen to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
The creation of the United States Space Force may seem a little out there for some people. In fact, there's a popular Netflix comedy about the newest branch of the U.S. military. It's called Space Force, of course.
Our nation's internet runs through our vulnerable space satellites. POTUS wants complete space dominance. To that end, the president is creating a new branch, Space Force, which Mark will run.
What? But the actual U.S. Space Force is taken very seriously. Members are called guardians. Okay, well, that sci-fi reference is hard to avoid now. You know the one, Guardians of the Galaxy.
They call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Having very different real guardians makes sense to Brad Jolliffe, the director of the McDonnell Center for the Space Sciences at Washington University in St. Louis.
I think the Guardians is, that may be a very good slogan, because Space Force will have as primary mission objective security of spaceborne assets. And so when I say that, you might think, well, anything in space, but let's think for a minute near Earth space and low Earth orbit. Lots of satellites.
Cyber attacks and jamming of our satellites. Microsatellites that can create a debris field. At 17,000 miles an hour, a piece of metal the size of a coin can be weaponized.
But then you could extend that to things like having an interest in the moon as high ground in the Earth-Moon system, or even beyond, once we get to traveling, say, with astronauts to Mars and establishing bases on the moon and Mars, far distant kinds of things that Space Force would be interested in.
Jolliffe has been a research scientist and Scott Rudolph Professor of Earth and Planetary Sciences at Washington University for many years.
I'm involved in research that ranges from the moon, which is, I think, very relevant for Space Force, to the exploration of the planets, to formation of solar systems, and to astrophysics and cosmology and the origin of the universe.
And Jolliffe was in the U.S. Army, so he says he understands the military and why having a Space Force is a step in the right direction.
But I'm very familiar with what Space Command was doing prior to the formation of Space Force, and I have an appreciation for what the U.S. Space Force is going to be doing.
Jolliffe explains how the Space Force will offer protection for future space missions, some that closely align with research in his department.
It's not all about, boots in space, so to speak. It's going to be more about technology in space. We work with the same technology at the university in our laboratories as will be done with Space Force. Great synergy there. I think we'll work very well together, actually.
Future synergy can boost university admissions and career development, similar to the university's relationship with NGA, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which has a strong presence in St. Louis.
The NGA is a great example. I had a PhD student who graduated a few years ago, and she now works for the NGA. And there's yet another aspect that's coming, and that's commercialization of space and what will come with commercialization and interrelationship with Space Force and with science.
Which has a lot to do with the moon. And Jolliffe dedicated a significant part of his career to lunar research and exploration.
It's to do exploration, but it's also to show how to live and work in space, have a sustained presence in deep space, in this case on the surface of the moon. And it will involve not only NASA, but also commercial interests in the next decade. And it's a good idea to be thinking about security and protection.
For more information, go to our website, hecmedia.org.
One of the stars from Meet Me in St. Louis later on Spotlight.
James Young, musical theater teacher at Johnson Wabash 6th Grade Center in the Ferguson-Florissant School District, was named the 2022 Missouri Teacher of the Year. Young, a graduate of the UMSL College of Education, leads an innovative musical theater program where students not only learn basic music theory concepts, but also how to project self-confidence and be their best selves. Educate Today's Christy Houle sat down with Young for her Classroom Matters podcast.
So when you were named Missouri's Teacher of the Year this year, how surprised were you, and what was that process like for you?
It was surreal, and just that surprise and awe, and like, wow, I'm a music teacher. Sometimes, I feel like I do my job, but I'm a music teacher. But, I really felt appreciated, thankful and grateful to my colleagues, my school, my principal. State Teacher of the Year, something I never would have imagined.
There's a lot of children that really look forward to music or art because it's really something that draws the creativity out in them. And, not all students are made for the worksheets and the books and the math and the reading. So are you seeing a lot of children really flourish over the last year in your classroom, your musical theater classroom? Have you had that challenge with students where they really just want to only be in the music room?
Yeah, we do have students coming to us, trying to come to us at all times of the day. I think it is a place to connect. Yeah, I think it is a place to connect, but I think it's always been a place to connect. I think music has always been a place for some students where they're really going to thrive. But here's what's interesting though. But some students don't realize how much they appreciate the arts, even until they leave. We had students. I often have students get to my class because it's not technically an elective, and they're like, I don't sing and I don't want to get on stage and I don't want to do anything. I don't want any part of that. And then by the end, they love it and they don't want to leave. I have students coming back to me that I had first because we're a semester long class. Mr. Young, I want to be back in your class, And so we do see that, but sometimes it's just getting kids to warm up to the idea that you can, and that's the confidence piece. You can do this. You have so much potential. You're amazing. And it's not just about you being the greatest superstar ever, but it is about being your best self and presenting yourself in a way that sets you up for success for anything you go into in life.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that makes you so special and inspiring and unique, is that you're not just there to teach music. You're there to really shape and mold the whole child. So how do you do that? What are some ways that you have really, you really intentionally reach out and touch children like that? What's some of your secrets?
I don't know if they're secrets, but I think my best ideas are stolen. But I think it is. It's trying to see what connects best. We always start our day off with warm-ups where we stretch. We get up out of our seats. Because sitting, gosh, that has been the nemesis for all of us during this virtual time. So we start off with stretching and we do some breathing and then I think we just really trying to find entry points into their interests, into their ideas, and finding creative ways to change what we do so it's a little more tailor-made. Our first year, we did The Lion King. We did a production of The Lion King, which was awesome. It was a lot of fun. And then COVID shut us down for the second semester because my first year teaching musical theater was in 2019. And so we had to reinvent. And so this is the second year, we've done more of a tailor-made program where each student is making their own individual videos and contributions to this overall show. And so I guess that's really key. Like I said, finding those entry points of interest and making those connections, letting them know you don't have to be a potential fine arts forever person to get something out of this class and take it with you and to help you become who you're going to be.
Find the full interview with James Young at our educational website, educate.today. And while there, be sure to check out the standards-aligned videos ready for students to use in class or at home.
It's the podcast for parents, teachers, and anyone interested in the education system. Classroom Matters. Hosted by Educate.today's Christy Houle. Find Classroom Matters on Educate.today or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Katie Bowler and I'm a potter. I wheel through my vessels and enjoy sgraffito work and carving. I've actually only been doing pottery full-time for almost 2 years. Before that, I just took a couple classes and just was trying it out. And then COVID hit and it made life difficult, when your kids are home and everything. So I wanted to be able to do something at home, take care of my kids still, something that was fulfilling. I had a friend that was like, you just need to bet on yourself and do pottery. And so I bought myself a kiln and invested in that, and it was kind of scary, but so far it's been really great. I didn't like just making something and leaving it. I always had to do something to it, whether it was like painting it with underglaze or throwing slip on it and carving it away, or I started cutting out little bits and turning them into luminaries and lanterns. Everything's free-handed, so I don't use stencils. Really, I might just make a mark where I'm like, okay, I want to carve here and here or in this area, and then I just go for it, and it's therapeutic and it just comes naturally. I love being outside, I love hiking, I like jogging. I've always just been fascinated with the design of plants and flowers, and so everything is kind of almost floral or has some sort of nature element. At least that's what comes naturally to me. I really do enjoy talking with people, and I would love it if you could come out to the art fair and see my work.
See Catherine's work at the Laumeier Art Fair, taking place in person today. Visit laumeiersculpturepark.org/art fair for tickets and more info. And while you're there, see a new installation honoring lives lost to COVID-19.
Rose River Memorial is a commemorative installation, sculptural artwork by Los Angeles-based artist Marcos Luchins. The artwork is comprised of over 10,000 felt roses made of recycled plastic bottles.
When I started the Rose River Memorial, I was very concerned about mental health in the community, and also how children and kids were dealing with the whole idea of what this pandemic was, because in our lifetimes there's never been anything like this. So I think parents had a lot of difficulty trying to explain to children what was going on.
So the roses you see on the building were made by the Girl Scouts of Western Missouri. We are working with the Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri to create an additional almost 10,000 roses.
Just like many other communities throughout Missouri, our Girl Scout family was really impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and this really allowed our girls to express themselves.
They're for all the people who died for COVID. It was really emotional, but it was really good, made me feel good. They were fun to make, and it was fun to work together. We had circle felts, and then we cut them, and we cut them in the circle, and then we glued it. You make them so easily, and each one means so much.
Community service is an integral part of being a Girl Scout. It allows our girls to really work on their teamwork, also to build their problem-solving skills, and also empower them to make a difference in their community.
The hope is to provide a space for healing, for recovery, for rehabilitation of this pandemic that we've all experienced. And it's a way to come together and to grieve the loss of friends or loved ones.
You can find the stories featured in today's show along with past episodes and more at hecmedia.org/spotlight. In 2019, St. Louis was the recipient of the Turner Movie Classic TCM In Your Hometown Award out of 111 cities across the U.S. A free screening of Meet Me in St. Louis was shown at the Tivoli Theater in celebration of the film's 75th anniversary. Iconic actress and star of the film Margaret O'Brien and TCM primetime host Ben Mankiewicz came to St. Louis for the event.
Clang, clang, clang went the trolley. Ding, ding, ding went the bell.
Her face may no longer be familiar to a lot of people, but for millions of classic movie fans, her name still clangs a bell.
Now.
When Margaret O'Brien was a little girl, she was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Today, she can still draw a crowd, as she did during her recent visit to St. Louis for a screening of the 1944 film that made her a star. 2019 is the 75th anniversary of Meet Me in St. Louis, so it seemed only fitting to the folks at Turner Classic Movies to arrange for fans of the movie to meet her in St. Louis.
It's wonderful to be here in St. Louis. I used to come here as a little girl with my mother, and we would come through that Union Station. So I saw it then, and now I'm seeing it now. It's absolutely gorgeous.
He tried to kill me.
Margaret O'Brien was 6 when she played the role of precocious Tootie Smith. Today, she is 82, but her memories of making the film are still sharp, especially of her co-star, Judy Garland.
Working with Judy was wonderful. She was actually a very happy person. She loved playing jump rope with the kids on the set, and she loved kind of being a kid, you know.
Buzz, buzz, buzz went the buzzer.
The film was directed by Vincent Minnelli. That's him giving Margaret O'Brien some direction. But it was Minnelli's relationship with Judy Garland that took her life in a new direction.
this happened to be a very happy time for Judy because she met Mr. Minnelli and they had a little romance on the set. And of course, a year later, Liza was born. So if it hadn't been for Meet Me in St. Louis, we may have missed all wonderful performances of Liza Minnelli.
Oh, meet me.
And I don't think many people realized that he did a lot of the antiques on the sets. He would even check the doorknobs. He did everything. If it hadn't been for Vincent Minnelli, there would not have been a Meet Me in St. Louis.
For the past 3 years, Turner Classic Movies has sponsored a contest inviting movie fans in cities with particular connections to classic films to compete for a hometown screening attended by one of the original stars. This year, the winner was St. Louis. The film was screened at the Tivoli, which Margaret O'Brien saw for the first time from the window of the Loop trolley, a photo opportunity alluding to the trolley song, one of the best known from the film. But it was another song from Meet Me in St. Louis that became the most endearing and enduring.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
But it might have become neither if it hadn't been for Judy Garland insisting the lyrics to Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas be changed.
It was, we're leaving St. Louis, it's all terrible, it's horrible. And Judy said, I don't want to sing that to little Margaret. I want to make her happier because she's sad enough as it is to leave St. Louis. So Judy and Hugh Martin got together and really rewrote those lyrics.
In a day and age when you might think classic movies would be fading from memory, TCM's success seems to suggest they are more popular than ever, not because of the times in which they were made, but because of the times in which they are shown.
We have never been as divided as we are now. I think the role that we play now is as important as it's ever been.
Yeah, there's no cure to like Top Hat.
That's right. Nobody's nobody hates their neighbor because he likes Fred and I like Ginger.
You never feel like you're making a classic. You're making the movie, you hope it's going to be good, but you don't realize it's going to go on for generations to come.
And now, for years to come, hundreds of fans of the film will be able to say they met Margaret O'Brien in person.
Right here where we live. Right here in St. Louis.
Next week, get to know John Wolbers, the new executive director of Prison Performing Arts. Plus, an art exhibit teaching us to look at popular objects with a new perspective. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.